Hello and welcome to Outdoor Program Consultant Training. Thank you for volunteering to be the OPC for your service unit. This tutorial will teach you about your role in the service unit. This is the official purpose of the Outdoor Program Consultant, or OPC. Your job is to ensure that volunteers adhere to all the health and safety guidelines involved in all activities outside the troop's meeting place. Even cookie booths are considered a field trip. Outdoor Program Consultants are the gatekeepers for programs involving trips, camping, and money-earning activities that take place away from the troop's meeting place. They ensure that volunteers have completed the paperwork necessary and that the service unit manager and auditor are given information about where troops have gone. Now that you have a general idea of what your role is, let's review our objectives. By the end of this tutorial, you should know the requirements and responsibilities of the Outdoor Program Consultant. Know the use of forms, resources, and training opportunities available. Know the support system in place for the position. And know the role of Outdoor Program Consultant within your service unit. Now that you have the general idea of what the role is, let's review our objectives. By the end of this tutorial, you should know the requirements and responsibilities of the Outdoor Program Consultant. Know the use of forms, resources, and training opportunities available. Know the support systems in place for the position, and know the role of Outdoor Program Consultant within this service unit. You should have received this Outdoor Program Consultant position description in your packet or from your service unit manager. You should sign this form and return it to your service unit manager. For every service unit position, there are requirements and duties. These vary depending upon the position. We will discuss the requirements now.
All service team members are held to certain requirements. The top 5 are shown on the slide, and additional requirements are listed on your position description. The top 5 are membership in Girl Scouts of the United States of America, successfully completing an online background check every 3 years, completing the training or educational sessions as required for the position, having access, ability, and willingness to use the internet, email, and other technology, and of course, learning, promoting, and supporting the Girl Scout program. Take a look at your position description and make sure that you understand all of these requirements. The principal duties are to support volunteers as they provide outdoor and environmental education experiences for their troops, review and reinforce skills learned in troop camping course, review and approve trip and camping applications, maintain a list of all troop camping certified volunteers and first aiders within the service unit, inform and assist volunteers with obtaining additional insurance for specific activities, promote safe camping through the use of safety activity checkpoints and camping guidelines, promote and encourage participation in all outdoor programs and events, including troop, service unit, day, and resident camp, help volunteers secure qualified specialists for outdoor programs, for example, boating, swimming, and archery. Help develop and implement service unit outdoor events. Communicate changes in materials relating to troop camping to all service unit troops. Have knowledge of and promote the use of all Girl Scouts of the Chesapeake Bay facilities. Serve as a resource person within the service unit for outdoor and environmental education, and maintain current certification in outdoor training.
There are 5 P's of outings. Volunteers should use this as guidelines when working with their girls, and you can use this as a guideline when mentoring volunteers on trips and travel with girls. Planning is always the first step and should include looking at safety activity checkpoints, budgeting, and scouting locations for the activity. Remember that girls can do what they plan. Program is where volunteers and girls will decide on activities and badges that they want to complete. Progression is present everywhere in Girl Scouting, as we want to make sure that girls accomplish their goals. Therefore, we want to make sure that volunteers adhere to the progression and only do things once girls have mastered skills. Permissions is where the volunteer takes most of the control and ensures that all the appropriate paperwork, training, and reservations have occurred. The site reservation, trip application, parent permission, and any equipment usage forms must be completed by specific deadlines to ensure that the troop's ability to use them. If money earning is being completed but to finance the trip, the application must be approved by both the service unit and council for the money earning to be done. As OPC, you will need to emphasize and enforce the deadlines with volunteers. Prevention is often overlooked or thought to be common sense, but it does need to be done. The more a volunteer does the step, the better the trip will be for everyone involved. Prevention can also include getting additional insurance if it is required for the trip to take place. Remember, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Now that we are better acquainted with the 5 Ps, let's take a closer look at them. Planning includes referring to the safety activity checkpoints. They are found on the website at www.gscb.org, and you should have a hard copy available in your OPC notebook. The activities are listed alphabetically, and volunteers need to consult them before planning a trip or outing with their girls. If you don't have a hard copy of these, please let your membership and community development specialist know so we can get a copy for you. Progression is present everywhere in Girl Scouting, as we want to make sure that girls accomplish their goals. Therefore, we want to make sure that volunteers adhere to the progression and only do things once they have mastered skills. Remember that progression starts from the level where the girls are most comfortable and then continues up the levels. You always want to ensure that girls have experienced and been comfortable with one level before they move to the next level. This chart is in the Camping Basics Manual and illustrates the progression in the out of doors. It will help you teach volunteers the best way to move the girls through the progression, as their applications will come to you for approval. There is also training that is involved with taking girls in the out of doors. We will now discuss the options available to volunteers. We want to make sure that all girls have the ability to explore the outdoors. There are several ways that adults get the training necessary to take their troop on trips and camping. Cabin camping is for when a troop will participate in an overnight, but not be building a fire or a shelter. It is an online training that participants access through the Girl Scouts of the Chesapeake Bay website. Camping Basics is an adult-only training and prepares volunteers to have an overnight experience where they can build a fire or shelter. It is comprised of a pre-session that is done at the participant's pace, a webinar with the training team, and an overnight experience. The cost is $10 per person. Troop camp training is where the adults and girls learn together. Adults receive the same training as Camping Basics and are required to attend the same pre-session webinar with the training team and overnight. Girls will be learning the 8 basic skills. They will also be supervised by helping adults during the times they are away from the training adults. The cost is $10, and this training is usually held twice a year. Once volunteers complete training, make sure to note it in your records and forward it to the education coordinator or recognitions chair. We are now going to discuss the permissions needed for the troop to leave their meeting place. The first application that volunteers need to be familiar with is the field trip application. The field trip application is required whenever a troop leaves their designated meeting place. It is to be turned in to the outdoor program consultant so that someone is aware of where the troop is for safety reasons. Each OPC decides the best way to receive these applications. The volunteer should send this to the OPC 4 weeks prior to the trip. This allows enough time for the OPC to research the certifications for any special volunteers attending the trip and the first aider. The OPC should keep a record of the field trips and forward it to the service unit manager and auditor to ensure that the volunteers are adhering to the financial reporting required for trips and travel. If you have any further questions about these forms, talk to your service unit manager or membership and community development specialist. This document is the property reservation procedures. This form outlines what a volunteer must do step by step in order to reserve the Girl Scouts of the Chesapeake Bay property site for a camping or daytime trip. It is very important to note that the volunteers may only reserve a site 6 months in advance for a troop outing and 1 year in advance for a service unit encampment. This form is a wonderful resource to share with your volunteers to ensure everyone knows the proper procedures. There are 2 different equipment rental forms. One is for program materials that any troop can use, and the other specific to the out of doors. These forms are to be returned to council so that the rental can be approved. All monies due are due at the time of the application. The volunteer who applies and signs the form is responsible for the care of the equipment. If there is any damage, they will need to make sure council is made aware of it as soon as possible so that others have the opportunity to rent the equipment in the future. Some of the outdoor equipment requires certified people to facilitate the use of it. Those items are archery, canoe, kayak, and zipline. There is a list of certified volunteers who are able to assist troops with these activities. You as OPC have access to those names so that you can help make sure that volunteers are staying safe and adhering to safety activity checkpoints. If you have any further questions about these forms, talk to the program department. One of your main duties as OPC is to help plan service unit events. This guidelines booklet will give you step-by-step instructions on how to do so. The most common event for the OPC to plan is the service unit encampment. The first step is always to form a committee so that you don't have to do it all alone. There is a checklist in the back of the booklet that will help keep you on track from start to finish of the event. And as with all Girl Scout events, there is a report evaluation that gets filled out and returned to Council once the event is complete. The form is on the next slide. This event report should be filled out completely and returned to Council as soon as possible after the event has been done. For a service unit encampment, it is the OPC's responsibility to complete this form. If you have any questions, talk to your membership and community development specialist. The service unit encampment application is required whenever a service unit camps on either GSCB or non-GSCB property. It is to be filled out by the service unit manager and the OPC. You can reserve using a pod system, which makes it easier to fill out and also more economical for the service unit. The volunteer should send this form to Council as soon as the reservation is made, along with the deposit. If you have any further questions about these forms, talk to your service unit manager or membership and community development specialist. The last thing we need to make sure volunteers are made aware of is prevention. This step will make sure that the outdoor experiences go more smoothly and avoid some pitfalls. The most important piece of prevention is additional insurance. As the OPC, you will need to make sure that volunteers are aware of when they need to purchase additional insurance for their adventures. This chart is an easy way to reference the insurance needs of volunteers and their troops. It is available in your forms packet. Remember, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
As a member of the service team, you may also receive questions about financial assistance. The Loan or Financial Assistance application is for use by troops or individuals in need of financial assistance for uniforms, books, events, or educational experiences. Troops can request a loan, individuals receive grants. Troops are required to create a repayment plan, and if they don't repay the loan, it is considered a council debt and treated accordingly. The scholarship request for membership fees is a revolving fund for providing the membership fee to those individuals who cannot otherwise participate in Girl Scouting. It can be repaid once the family or troop is able to do so. If it is repaid, the money goes to help another person in the council. The Loan or Financial Assistance application is available online. If you have any further questions, talk to your service unit manager or membership and community development specialist.
Thank you for taking the time to complete your training, for supporting the girls and adults in your community, and for taking on the role of OPC.
If you click on the link below,
there's a short quiz that will open automatically momentarily. Please complete it to receive credit for completing your training module. Good luck in your role as OPC. We hope you are now more familiar with your role and your role within the service unit. If you have any questions, contact your service unit manager or membership and community development specialist.